Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Andrew Donovan. After years of waiting and planning, construction of Micron's megafab in the town of Clay is underway after a ceremonial groundbreaking event that marks the first day in 20 years of construction. I'm joined by Micron's biggest cheerleader, the Onondaga County Executive, Ryan McMahon, who has a really big smile on his face. It's a big day. Thanks for fitting us in.
Thanks for having us, Andrew.
How does this moment in time feel?
Well, I think if you look at, it's tough to just think of this moment today without thinking about where we came from and how we got here and what's next. And so I think overall, it's really, first it's great, right? I think everybody's gonna finally physically start to see it. They're going to physically have economic opportunity. We're gonna have thousands of workers over the next year and a half out there building a fab, building infrastructure. But I think overall, it's a testament to the idea that we are unapologetically a champion for the Central New Yorker. And we don't apologize that we are a region that can compete at a global level, and we're a region that is worthy of good things. And we took that mindset when we built out the mega fab, when we took a lot of risk. We took that mindset in making investments to prepare us for this, to win the project, to get through permitting. So I think overall, Central New Yorkers should feel really, really good right now. And we'll never apologize for the fact that we can compete with any community across this country. And that's what this is about too. It's a victory lap that we will have an emerging economic cluster as relevant as major metros throughout this country, helping our country become stronger, helping make the most important technology that's going to lead and win the AI race for our country.
We're worthy of good things.
We are worthy of really good things, and good things are here now.
Can you take us behind the scenes? What didn't people see in terms of you getting this project to this moment?
I think overall, I think people really over the last year and a half, 2 years, these environmental reviews and the timeline you could complete and do certain things, and if you missed certain dates, that would push back projects. I think these are just huge complexities, right? Federal grants for this industry, enable for the federal grants to actually be dispersed, contracts to be signed. You had a lot of things happen. You had presidential administration shift. You had changes in Congress and who was in charge, right? All these things had to be, managed at that level to make sure that the CHIPS grant remained, that the investment tax credit remained, that the White House was working cohesively to get through the federal review. We led the local and state review at the county IDA, our team led by Bob Petrovich and Jeff Davis, Yvonne Hennessy, our attorneys. They all did yeoman's work to really help push this through, working every day, Andrew, for a year and a half, right? That's what I think people don't get. People were wondering, is this gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? We knew it was gonna happen because we were doing the work every day. And so now we went from building the mega fab, we went from winning a selection process, permitting process, now we're in the construction phase, where working class and middle class families in this county and in this region are gonna start getting paychecks because of this project.
I think in spirit, you'd say this environmental review process should have happened quicker, and it does happen more quickly. But more practically, is there anything that you think could be done differently in the future to move things along quicker, but still as laborious in terms of the quality of the review?
Yeah, you never want to cut corners when you're talking about impacts to the community, right? But I think overall, other communities do this faster in other states. And I think at the federal level, this administration has done a really nice job looking at areas where you can cut needless red tape, needless bureaucracy and approvals. And I think over in the governor's state of the state address, there is an acknowledgement on housing. If you want to build housing, some of this review is unnecessary, right? And I think overall, some of those lessons that we've learned in this process will help drive reforms at the state level and certainly at the federal level as well.
Part of the environmental review process also somewhat dictates the first stages of construction and land clearing. Would you speak to the tight timeline, which I'm assuming led to some stress the past few weeks as it gets closer and the year moves along already?
Well, I can tell you the Indiana bat is famous throughout the semiconductor industry now. When you go to these conferences, people actually from around the world will kind of laugh about it. We do have the Indiana bat in Central New York. Thank you, Indiana. But the reality is on the site, we don't know. We might have had a bat. But the reality is because of that bat, it's either roosting or mating during a period of time. That means we have a short window to clear the site. And so that window, it was so critical to this. Our reviews had to be complete so that we can get this site cleared by March 31st, because the reality is, by the laws and regulations, because of this bat being endangered, later on in April, if we aren't done, we have a problem. So the teams are ready. That's why this groundbreaking was so critical, to get out, get the site cleared, and get ready to be able to pour foundations down later on in the spring and into the summer.
Well, let's speak to that speed. That foundation will be laid in 2026. So the trees have to get cleared first. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but what kind of work will happen in the next few days and a few months?
Yeah, I think you'll see, continue to see heavy mobilization around the site and workers starting to get going with tree clearing. The site is massive, Andrew. You'll be able to see some of it visually when they're working in certain pockets by Codnoy or 31, but they will also be working in areas where you won't be able to see it from the street level unless you have a drone footage. But the other thing that's going to be happening immediately is the building of the rail spur. The rail spur will be critical as the trees go down, because that will bring in a lot of the necessary fill to level off the site essentially, and then prepare it for foundations to be poured. So the rail spur by itself is another $40 million project. Certainly this first contract with Gilbane and all the subcontractors, which at least 80% of them will be local labor residents of our community in Central New York. You know, that's essentially about another $1 billion, right? So you're talking about over $1 billion of spend in 2026, just getting really the site ready to go vertical. And so certainly by the end of the year, that's where this project should be. It should be foundations poured, ready to go vertical, starting to go vertical. The company then can capture their investment tax credit from the federal government, and we can really start seeing the small city being built at the White Pine Business Park in 2027.
People can read about this in depth in the final environmental review statement, but let's summarize. The crews can't use only the dirt that is there. You mentioned the rail spur bringing fill in. Soil has to be brought in just to even off the site.
Correct. There's a lot of grubbing of tree stumps, of roots, of different things, obviously taking trees down, but then you have to have it level, right? You know, some of the vibrations for this manufacturing can be next to nothing with the construction. So certainly that's going to be a big piece of the work that's being done, pouring the foundations, preparing for vertical construction in all 26. That's all 2026. The other things that I think are important to understand is a lot of jobs there, a lot of investment. To support Micron, we will be undertaking our 2 wastewater projects, building out the municipal expansion at Oak Orchard, and then building out the industrial wastewater system specifically for Micron and eventually their supply chain partners that need that type of industrial wastewater. That's another $1.5 billion of investment that's going to start in 26. And as we've talked about frequently lately, Aqua is going to be developing, modernizing infrastructure in the system, but bringing that second pipeline from Lake Ontario as well to support the community growth, the community, and the semiconductor industry.
You mentioned how big the site is. Even still to this day, and I've been there a lot, when you're driving in a vehicle, so not just walking, but driving, when you go from Codnoy Road headed towards Burnett, you keep going. You keep going. I mean, on a map, it almost seems small. When you drive it, you can just see how big at least one side is.
It's massive, and it's even bigger than that, right? So Burnett to Codnoy is kind of phase 1, the first 2 fabs. But when you look at the whole site, you're really talking about parts of Route 11 in Cicero to Codnoy Road in Clay. To put that site together was a massive feat. That mega site is what really drew Micron here, allowed us to compete in Central New York, compete in New York State. And White Pine Business Park is home to one of the greatest technology companies in the world. And that's something that if we talked about in 2018 when I got this job, people probably wouldn't have believed us.
All right, we'll take our first break. More with the Onondaga County Executive on this historic weekend. Newsmakers is back after this. Newsmakers is back. The Onondaga County Executive is our guest. Micron has been a topic of conversation on this broadcast now for years, but it's among the most momentous times to be talking about it because the groundbreaking has happened. Construction is now underway. County Executive, as much as this is a step to celebrate, I'm still trying to help people understand this is the first day, the first year in 20 years of construction. And I think that means a couple things. One, this community has to adjust to seeing that area be very active for at least portion of a generation. But also that builds in some time for all these other concerns about housing and education and job training. That gives you some time to continue to scale that up.
It does. It gives you to really, the goal here is to create the Central New York semiconductor cluster, right? Micron being the anchor, tooling companies, gas and chemical companies, material supply companies, tens of thousands of jobs in this space. To do that, you needed your mega site. You need to continue other sites for supply chain partners. We're doing that. You need to have a workforce that can produce the technicians and engineers. We have the workforce partners together. When you think about all of our higher educational institutions, look at investments we made at the STEAM School, investments at OCC, Syracuse University, the new Tech Garden expansion, right? So the partners are there. What this now allows our partners to do in the workforce is to continue to scale, continue to develop the trades members that are going to build it, the construction workforce, develop the technicians, continue to recruit the talent necessary with all of our higher educational partners so we have the engineers, right? But the infrastructure, the workforce, supply chain partners, supply chain sites, and then community growth, as you're suggesting, housing. We're doing better. We're putting on lots of units, but the reality is the shovel in the ground means a lot for some of these bigger projects. We've never seen $1 billion investment by a private sector company here. We have now. What we were talking about with some of these large scale projects that are on the cusp of getting going, like a Great Northern Mall, a shopping town mall, these are $1 billion investments. There needs to be a reason for people to make that kind of investment. Micron's the reason. Now the doubters can, go away. Well, like we've said, we got a big boat, time to jump on our boat as we move forward. But overall, a lot of these things, a lot of the dominoes are going to start to fall into place with this historic event that we've had.
The doubters should go away, but where do you want them to go?
I want them on our boat. I want them to be believers.
I was going to ask you about the speed at which housing is being constructed. It doesn't seem fast enough for what's needed. But you've already just now are seemingly answering that question by saying this groundbreaking is the step to maybe be the catalyst for bigger projects quicker, basically solving that problem quicker than you already have been.
Yeah, if you look at our kind of center-driven strategy to develop units and quickly to address some of the immediate concerns related to this investment, you need to have like 5 or 6 different pockets throughout the community where you can happen. The Inner Harbor, Blueprint 15, potentially Lafayette Country Club, Shopping Town, Great Northern. These are all center-driven projects where you can get hundreds of units done at once, right? To capture some of that density. To make it work, you need outside capital, and that capital has been waiting for this day. And I know that because I've been talking to these folks. We've been speed dating Andrew for 2 years, many of these outside private equity firms and developers. You'll see these projects start to move.
What will the ripple effect of groundbreaking be on the spin-off companies, the companies that you've been talking to for a couple of years? You've traveled the world to talk to these companies. We're still kind of waiting for the next one to fall in a good way, join the community. When will that be?
I think now that we have a shovel in the ground, if you think about, and I've learned this, right? We've been to Japan a couple of times, Taiwan, we've been all over the United States with the industry. What they look at is when is Micron going to be operating and needing our product, and then they go backwards because typically they have to be up and ready 6 months before then. And so now when you're looking at potential operation dates in maybe 29, maybe 2030 for sure, I think when you go backwards, many of these companies will need to build themselves. we don't have gas and chemical legacy companies sitting here that Asian companies can plug into. They'll need to build themselves. That will take about 18 months to 24 months. Permitting before then will take a little bit longer. So I think overall, some of the companies that we have had verbal commitments with, I think we will get those commitments in writing. And I think in Q1 here and Q2, we'll be able to talk about win after win after win.
Another issue that people will look to answers about: traffic, road improvements. What's your latest awareness of what the state DOT, what the town of Clay, what those groups are doing to make sure that maybe not needed today, but needed pretty quickly will happen?
Well, those of us who live in Cicero and Clay have just toughed it out through the first 81 part of the project. We have an understanding now of what that feels like and what that looks like. The good news is legacy traffic issues on 31 and 11 are going to be addressed. It looks like we will have another 81 exit built out on Sneller Road to help remediate some of that. Certainly long term, probably 3, 4, Fab 3 and 4, Cardnoy Road may see a 481 on-ramp. But overall, enhancements will start to be made, but they'll be sequenced. It won't be anything as drastic as what we've just lived through. But if you live in our northern suburbs, you know that 31's a problem now, 11's a problem now. The good news is because of this investment, the state of New York, which owns those roads, needs to address that. That's part of the environmental review. And so certainly we'll see hundreds of millions of dollars in road improvements being made on state roads and county roads and federal highways.
Does anyone still live on Burnett Road?
Nobody lives on Burnett Road.
So Burnett Road is effectively now a county-owned road as part of the county IDA's owned White Pine Commerce Park.
Yeah, we're actually still a town road. We're asking the town to essentially give it to the county, so they don't need to worry about maintaining that. But essentially, that is a access point to the Micron campus at this point.
And for the purposes of the community, I know you've had issues when there were homes there about break-ins. You had hunting activity on the more of the field side of that property. What should the community be doing in that area? Not going on it?
I would suggest you don't go on private property now, especially an active construction site. But the remaining homes that are there will be knocked down. There's very few left, but we'll be knocking those down. And this is going to be a heavy construction site, as you said, Andrew, likely for the next 20 years. So I think the idea of hunting on this site or snowmobiling, you know, those activities certainly are likely retired at this point.
All right. We'll take another break. More with the county executive when Newsmakers continues. Newsmakers is back with the Onondaga County Executive. Micron is obviously the catalyst to so many other things, but I want to run through a few other things that are, you know, crossing your desk every single day. What's the status of the the water situation affecting the eastern suburbs?
Yeah, right now we're looking at a situation where the construction project is almost complete. We will take off the mandatory conservation order and go to voluntary. If people want to continue to just change behavior and conserve water, that's a good thing for the environment. So we expect the next week that we will, the health department, both locally, the county health department and the state health department, will work with Aqua as they start to get the infrastructure working again. And then this will be a moment that we have gotten through. Could have been a very serious challenge for the community. The community rallied, they conserved, the engineering teams did very well to divert water into this section of the infrastructure of the system. The city of Syracuse stepped up for us, the town of DeWitt stepped up for us, the city of Oneida stepped up for us, really a community effort. And we're blessed. We are so blessed, Andrew, that we have this water infrastructure, and essentially together we move things around when there's problems. When the city of Syracuse had problems over the summer, we moved things around and got them there. Most communities don't. Most communities lose a transmission line, they lose water. We didn't.
Monday is when that water restriction goes from mandatory to voluntary.
That's right.
Okay, and then you expect the project to be done?
Essentially, we should be working with the health departments to start using the infrastructure on Monday.
Okay. Governor's State of the State address, you mentioned it already. Did anything else pique your interest?
Well, I'm the head of the County Executive Association for the president. And a couple things. I think the energy aspects of it. Probably should have been highlighted more. Means a lot for upstate New York, 5 gigawatts of nuclear power potentially. That's something that there should be bipartisan support for. It's clean, it creates jobs, it's reliable. In addition to that, permitting reform for housing, it's a good idea. It's necessary across the board. I think those are kind of 2 areas of the speech that doesn't matter your walk of life. If we can accomplish some of those goals, we'll be a stronger state, stronger county from it.
Real briefly, the status of both of the malls. Great Northern Mall just down the road from Micron and Shoppingtown Mall really clearing some legal hurdles recently.
Yeah, Shoppingtown, we are before a judge next week, hopefully just working on value determination with Benderson, and that certainly will allow us to put out a new RFP in short order. We have an RFP going, it's ready. As soon as I have that confirmation from the courts, we're going to put that out. We anticipate that we'll have those responses back in 30 days. We've already talked to so many different people interested in this. This is going to be a massive investment into the community. We'll address some of the housing needs. We'll address a lot of the needs for some of our high-tech companies. Still some retail and amenities, but certainly a little bit different than the District East vision. Related to Great Northern, there's no project that will benefit more from this groundbreaking that just happened than that. I've been talking to the developers. Upstate's going to make a large medical investment there. In addition to that, they have some national housing partners that they're working with, different national hotel partners. I think that project will start having portions of it starting to go for local approvals in 2026.
A final break and the final word from the county executive after this. In our final seconds, I want to say, County Executive, thanks for fitting us in on this special occasion, and congratulations on bringing Micron to Central New York.
Thanks, Andrew. This is a validating moment right now for this community, and we are going to deliver for this country by creating the Central New York Semiconductor Cluster, and it's going to be powered by Central New Yorkers right here.
For all the hardworking people of News Channel 9, have a great weekend.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.